Are you searching for stability in these volatile times? Rod here from A Better Way to Farm. For 29 years, we here have been helping growers navigate through uncertainties and remain profitable. Today, we'd like to talk about three things. Number one, how to find a team of like-minded people who want to do better. Number two, we'd like to share 2 tips with you to raise yield economically. And number 3, we'd like to share a time-tested secret to work around these outrageous fertilizer prices. The first thing that we want to talk about is the opportunity to be in that community. A community of growers who have anywhere from 1 to 28 years of experience working with us. A community that includes CCAs who have one purpose in life, and that's to help you do better. A community of other agronomists who have spent years and years working to get better, to find a different way to do it. Where do you find all these people in one place? Actually, you can find them here in about 3. The first place that you can find them is at our Fundamentals of Agronomy program. Because at the Fundamentals of Agronomy program, these people show up. Some of them are the ones who do the training. Some of them are there to learn to get better. Some of them are there in a support role. But that's the first place. The second place that you're going to get your hands on these guys is you're going to be able to take part in some platforms that are geared strictly for people who work with this team. You're going to be able to be a member of a community there on social media where you can get questions answered almost instantaneously just by making a post on Facebook. And thirdly, you're going to have a whole series of phone numbers of people that you can reach out to when you feel stuck or when you feel uncertain, to say, hey, what are you doing about this? And everybody there has one goal, and that is to do it different and do it better. The second thing we'd like to talk about today is how to increase yield economically. The fact of the matter is, yield is king. We have no choice but to keep getting better if that's how we're going to get to play this game. However, let me just share with you what we believe to be rule number 1 to raise yield economically. Rule number 1 is never over-apply. What we want to do is find your limiting factor, and we want to fix that. Oftentimes, the answer is not a lot more N, a lot more P, a lot more K. Because just putting more on doesn't get us there. If it did, we'd all be growing 400 or 500 bushel corn. What do we got to do? We got to take those dollars that we might put towards more and redirect them towards what we need. We've got to look and see what are the proper micronutrients, what are the proper secondary nutrients that we need. And guys, if there was ever a time that we should really embrace the 4 R's, you know, the right product, the right rate, the right time, and the right place, it's today. It's now. But I'm just going to share a little secret with you that I believe is a fact, and that is this. The industry talks about the right product and the right rate and the right time and the right place, but then they come back and they try to sell you things that are not the right product. They try to sell you things that are not put on at the right time. They try to tell you how to put things on, maybe not in the right place. And therefore, that leads to even coming back and using the right rate. I'll give you, for instance, today here, it's hot. When you're outside, you need a t-shirt. It's the middle or late October, and we know there are people who are pulling gas on today. People who are putting anhydrous on right now. And what am I being told by growers who are out looking for this? Well, the industry is saying you need to put on your anhydrous right now because nitrogen is going to be hard to get in the spring. And the farmer says, what about loss? And all of a sudden the industry said, well, just put some more on right now. That will compensate for the loss. What's wrong with that? You actually just increase your loss. It's fairly well-known fact that you can only hang on to about 10 units of nitrogen for each 1 point of CEC that you have. Now you can put on one time the amount times your 10 times your CEC point anytime you want to. You can do it 3 times a year, but you can't do 3 times all at once. Because when you do, you really elevate the losses that you have. That's putting on the wrong product at the wrong rate at the wrong time. The place is right, at least they're getting it in the dirt. But that's 3 out of 4 that are not there. Guys, we need to embrace this 4 R's, and we need to do it correctly. Which leads me to the third thing, and that is a time-tested but underused secret to flourish in these outrageous fertilizer prices. How are we going to do that? First and foremost, we have to do a soil test. And we have to make sure that soil test is not the same old thing and a me too. How many times have you had someone pull a soil test and they came back after they got done and they said, hey, you need 150 pounds, 184060, and 200 pounds of 0060. Guys, that's not a soil test, it's a loadout sheet. We here at A Better Way to Farm and in our fundamentals of agronomy training, we're going to talk about a real soil test. We're going to talk about the right way to do it because we believe in the right test and the right method. So what is the right test? We want a complete test. The test that looks at NPK, micronutrients, secondary nutrients, pH, CEC, organic matter. And then we start looking at some of those ratios because we want to know what is the ratio between P1 and P2. What is the ratio between potassium and magnesium? Because there's a little tip right there, guys, that can make you 22 bucks an acre in a drop of a hat for about a $5 investment. Simply by looking at that one ratio. We want to know what is that boron level. We know that 95% of America is boron deficient. We know that boron level, when we look at that test, it should be 0.8 parts per million or higher. And we know that most of America is somewhere between 0.2 and 0.4. And when we properly address that, it makes a huge difference. We're going to look at sulfur. We know that when you put on sulfur, it works if you put on the right product, the right place, the right time, the right rate. And here's a clue. Yellow elemental sulfur is not the right product. Yeah, you can put it on. Yes, it will make you feel better because you see yellow granules in the soil. If you go back next spring, you'll still see yellow granules in the soil. Plants only take up sulfate. So when I look at that soil test, I look and see, do you have 25 parts per million sulfur? Yes, no. If the answer is no, we're going to put some more on. What are we looking for? Ammonium thiosulfate, ammonium sulfate, potassium sulfate. Those are the things that we're going to be looking at. All done because we got a complete, not a basic, cheap test. What about the properly done side of it? Well, there are those out there who are adamant about grid sampling. And make no mistake, I am very much for grid sampling for pH management. We just had a couple of new guys, actually we had 5 new guys reach out this week and want to work with us, and we're excited about that. And some of them are wanting to address pH. So they're going to grid sample and do the inexpensive NPK calcium test for their grids so they can variable rate their lime. However, they're also going to test the way that we do it, and the key is we want a uniform depth. You can go 6 inches, you can go 8 inches, but you have to go uniform. It's very important that that depth be completely uniform across that field. And then we're going to work in a big figure 8. Why do we do that instead of grids? Because when you load up that starter tank on that corn planter and you start at the east end of that field, you're going to drive all the way through to the west end. So what we have to do is in every 40, 60, or 80 acre block, we have to take a look at what does each plant need to get here in the way of equal opportunity, nutrition. And I have countless people that we can do 3-way calls with who have made the switch and realize that the key to locking unused potential, the key to moving to the next level is not to put more on. It's to address the secondaries and the micros, because that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where you get the return on investment. Guys, it is really important that we never over-apply or under-apply, especially in this economic environment. We don't want to under-apply and come up short, but we don't want to over-apply and not get a return on our investment. $1,000 a ton nutrients don't cash flow very well. And I can tell you that the person that shared this video with you is talking to you and giving you a price that is less than 30% higher than it was 15 months ago. There's no one in the industry doing that. What are we going to do by doing the soil test properly and getting the complete test and meeting those needs? We're going to tighten the yield curve. You guys know throughout every field we have this. We've got ups and downs, ups and downs. We're going to tighten that curve so it's more this way and more this way. I had a friend down in Texas, and I love working with him. He's tremendous, and I was down there here a while back, and his seed dealer came to me and he said, "Do you know why your buddy likes you so much?" To which I responded, "Of course, because of my charming personality." The Pioneer dealer laughed out loud and said, "That's not it." He said, "The deal is, what you have done is you've tightened his yield curve. You raised his upper yield a little bit, but you brought his bottom numbers way up. And guys, to increase average, all we have to do is raise those bottom numbers." I will not forget the first time this individual called me, and this has been well over 10 years ago, because he pulled his first documented 300 bushel yield off of a 240 acre field. How'd he do that? He properly soil tested. He put on the missing nutrients. He found what his limiting factor was, and he fixed it. And he tightened his yield curve, and it worked. So guys, here's the deal. If you want to be a part of a community of like-minded growers who are not concerned with what other people think, but concerned with doing it in a better way to make more money, if you'd like to raise your yield and do it economically so that every bushel you get costs you less and less and less, if you'd like to manage your fertilizer costs much more effectively, then I invite you to join our team. Get back with the person who sent you this video, and they will help you set up your account. And we will see you at the next Fundamentals of Agronomy.